Prudent Scholars in association with Goa Headmasters Association.
Welcome students to the lesson carbon and its compound. In the last class we learned how to name the compounds, we learned about the nomenclature of carbon compounds. In today's class we will be learning about the chemical properties of carbon compounds. Since we already know carbon is so versatile in nature, again I am going to repeat the three reasons. The versatile nature of carbon is due to its tetravalency, formation of multiple bonds, that is double or triple bonds, and also very important is that the self-linking property of a carbon, that is called as catenation, which makes it so versatile in nature. Now let us learn about the most important chemical property of carbon compound, that is combustion. We know carbon exists in different forms. Okay, we also know that the hydrocarbons, which is also a form of fuel that is being used. Okay, so what exactly happens when carbon, it burns in the presence of oxygen? So you see carbon compounds, they generally burn. So we already know, student, that burning is supported by oxygen. If there is no oxygen, burning will not occur. So for combustion to take place, oxygen is your main compound. So carbon compounds generally burn or oxidize in air to produce carbon dioxide and water and release heat and light energy. If you look at the products in the three reactions, let us first focus on the first reaction. Carbon is written, so if C is written, it means it has been obtained from coke or charcoal. Okay, when you burn charcoal, okay, when you burn charcoal in the presence of oxygen, the products that you get are carbon dioxide, heat and light. So you see, you can also see the light that is coming out, and also you can see the heat energy. So you know, during winters and all, there are these special fire houses, especially in the northern region, in order to maintain the temperature of the house. So what is being done over here? Wood is being burnt. Now when wood is being burned, you know, wood contains, or timber, it contains carbon. So when wood is being burnt, it turns into charcoal, and what is being given? Heat is being released, okay, and besides it, even light is being given out in the form of fire. So what kind of reaction will combustion come under? It is a type of exothermic reaction because heat is released in this particular reaction. In the second example, you see there is combustion of methane. Methane on heating, it is giving carbon dioxide, heat and light. The third example is alcohol. Alcohol, which alcohol is there? 1, 2, there are 2 carbons. So 2 carbons, that means the word root is eth. The functional group is OH, so it is all. So the name of this particular compound is ethanol. Okay, ethanol or alcohol in general, I will say, on combustion it is again giving you carbon dioxide, water, heat and light is being given out. So combustion reactions are very important reactions, but you see at the same time carbon dioxide gas is known as a greenhouse gas. So we should always avoid burning, burning down any, plastics also contain carbon dioxide. So try reusing the plastic rather than burning them, because we do not want carbon dioxide or any other harmful form of carbon oxides to be released into the atmosphere. Okay. So this is about the combustion reaction. The next important reaction that the carbon shows is, okay, before that students, something very important that you have to remember. We know hydrocarbons are classified as saturated hydrocarbons and unsaturated hydrocarbons. Saturated hydrocarbons are also called as alkanes, which are linked to each other via a single bond. Now what exactly happens when you start burning a saturated hydrocarbon? Now saturated hydrocarbon burns generally with a blue flame. That means the color of the flame changes to blue in color when you try to burn a saturated hydrocarbon. Example of saturated hydrocarbon, we have just seen methane. Okay, so if you try to burn, methane is a highly combustible gas besides that, but it burns with a blue flame in good supply of air. So if the supply of air is good, then the saturated hydrocarbon is going to burn to give you a blue flame, and with a yellow sooty flame in limited supply of air. Well, now what do you mean by limited supply of air? If the supply of oxygen is not enough, then the hydrocarbon, that is the saturated hydrocarbon, is going to burn with a yellow sooty flame. Now what exactly is a sooty flame? If you take ghee and you take you can actually do this activity at your home. You take a spoon, in that you add some amount of ghee and you start heating it on your gas stove under an adult supervision, and be very careful while you are doing so. Now if you continuously heat, or maybe you can use a candle to heat it, okay, take a candle, you take a spoon containing ghee and you start heating it slowly. Now as you heat it, you will realize that first of all it's going to give you black color smoke. Now when you collect, if you take a clear spoon on top and if you place it, you will realize this black color smoke, it gets settled on the bottom of the spoon, showing that black color which will be deposited on the other spoon is called as soot. Okay, so even if you notice, in the olden days what people used to do, they used to cook food on chulha. Now when they used to cook food on chulha, they used to burn wood. Now on burning wood, what used to happen, the containers that your grandparents must be using, it must have turned dark from the bottom. Nowadays you are using gas stoves, okay, which are using you are using natural gas as your fuel, LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, as the fuel. Do your containers does the bottom of the container turn dark when you cook food on a gas stove, or does it turn dark when you cook it on a chulha? So you see, in case of gas stove, you see the burner is having holes. Okay, that means the supply of oxygen is good enough and your fuel is getting completely decomposed, giving you carbon dioxide, heat and light. But in case of chulha, since the supply of oxygen is limited, it leads to the formation of soot on the bottom of the container. So what exactly the point that you have to remember in this case is that saturated hydrocarbons that are present, they burn with blue flame in presence of good amount of oxygen. But if the supply of oxygen is limited, then the saturated hydrocarbon is going to burn with a yellow sooty flame. Now sooty flame is seen when unsaturated hydrocarbons are burned. So this is a characteristic of unsaturated hydrocarbons to give you a sooty flame. Saturated hydrocarbons do not burn with a sooty flame, they burn with a non-sooty flame, provided you cut off the supply of oxygen. But in case of unsaturated hydrocarbons, they are going to burn, giving you a sooty flame. So burning of coal and petroleum emits oxides of sulfur and nitrogen, which are responsible for acid rain. This is one of the most important, and we see so many countries are working towards, so many researchers are working towards the development of a cleaner fuel, of a better fuel. Now why is it required? As I have told you in the beginning of the class, carbon is a compound that is so versatile in nature. The fuel that you are using is nothing but it is a form of hydrocarbon. Now, if there is incomplete combustion of fuel, the vehicle that you are using, you are filling it either with diesel or petroleum. Now, if there is incomplete combustion of this fuel, what is going to happen is that the harmful oxides, now you see petroleum is obtained from the earth's crust, it is a fossil fuel. Now what is going to happen, this petroleum, if it is not being distilled properly, it is going to have sulfides in it. It is going to have nitrites, it is going to have various harmful compounds. Now on burning, so when you start your engine, okay, and if you want to run your vehicle, obviously you need fuel. So the fuel is getting burnt. Now in this process, if the fuel is not having proper supply of oxygen, so what is going to happen, is going to release lot of smoke. So if you see these buses which are running on the roads, or the trucks, they release lot of smoke from the silencer. So why it does happen? So because the hydrocarbon may not be getting sufficient amount of oxygen. So over here what is happening, burning of coal and petroleum emits oxides of sulfur. So sulfur dioxide, sulfur trioxide and nitrogen, which are responsible for acid rain. So this incomplete combustion of fuel, what is going to happen, the smoke is going to get released into the atmosphere. Once it is released into the atmosphere, these harmful oxides are going to get mixed with the rain. Okay, when the rain, then the precipitation is going to occur, these harmful gaseous oxides are going to mix with water, and when they will come down to the ground, it's going to cause acid rain. And you know, we have learned in acids, bases and salts lesson how acid rain affects the pH of the soil, how it is affecting the aquatic life from the infrastructure. So we need to take care. Okay, so if there is any small distance also, we will always try to use, we'll try to go walking or cycling or so on. So remember students, burning of coal and petroleum or fossil fuel, it's emitting harmful oxides which is harmful to our environment. So this was about combustion. Now let us move on to the second important reaction of carbon, which is called as oxidation. Now the term itself says oxidation, that means there is involvement of oxygen again. So in this case, we can see over here, alcohols can be converted to carboxylic acids. So if you are having ethanol and I want you to convert it to ethanoic acid using some reaction, the reaction that you will be using is your oxidation reaction. So alcohols can be converted to carboxylic acid by oxidizing them using alkaline potassium permanganate and or acidified potassium dichromate. Now what is this KMnO4 or K2Cr2O7? In order to carry out oxidation reactions, what you require is an oxidizing agent. Okay. Now for this oxidizing agents, what is being used? Potassium dichromate and potassium permanganate are excellent oxidizing agents. So over here you can see in the first step, alcohol, either ethanol, methanol, propanol, any form of alcohol you take, you heat it in the presence of the oxidizing agents, you will result, what you will get, the product that you will be getting is your carboxylic acid. So here is an example, ethanol on heating in the presence of oxidizing agent, you are getting ethanoic acid. Okay, let us see another example of the same. So let us look at the example over here. So oxidation reaction, you know, alcohol in the presence of oxidizing agent gives you carboxylic acid. So let us see this, let us try to first name the alcohol that is given over here. So 1, 2 and 3, the word root is prop, the functional group present is OH. So the name of the compound is propanol. Okay. Propanol on heating in the presence of alkaline potassium permanganate. Potassium permanganate is a purple colored solution. Okay. You see number of oxygen atoms present here are 4 oxygen atoms. So imagine how strong, good oxidizing agent it is. So on heating it in the presence of an oxidizing agent, what you get is 1, 2, 3. The word group is prop. The functional group present over here is carboxylic acid. So you are getting your propanoic acid. So you see students, in the given example, propanol is giving you propanoic acid. So similarly, if you are taking another example, say butanol, I will not write the structure. So butanol, if you heat it and in the presence of oxidizing agent, what will it give you? It is going to give you butanoic acid. So a simple way in which alcohol can be converted into its carboxylic acid is using the oxidation reaction, in which in the presence of oxidizing agent it leads to the formation of your carboxylic acid. Now what exactly is an oxidizing agent? Let us learn about it. So you see some substances like potassium permanganate, potassium dichromate, these are capable of adding oxygen into other compounds. So substances which are capable of adding oxygen to others, they are called as oxidizing agent. Here are some examples of oxidizing agents. Remember, just potassium permanganate will not be a good oxidizing agent. What is mentioned over is alkaline potassium permanganate. That means potassium permanganate mixed with some base acts as a good oxidizing agent. So KMnO4-KOH, so that is called as a alkaline potassium permanganate. Acidified potassium dichromate. So if I just say K2Cr2O7, it is not a good oxidizing agent. It should be acidified. That means there has to be presence of acid in order to be a good oxidizing agent. So over here you see it is K2Cr2O7. In the bracket it is written as H2SO4. So by mixing potassium dichromate with some amount of acid, it is going to act as a good oxidizing agent. So these are even hydrogen peroxide H2O2 is a very good oxidizing agent. So what you can do at home, you can find out the names of more oxidizing agents. Okay. Next, we will see the third type of reaction, which is called as an addition reaction. Now, addition of dihydrogen, addition, the simple word that means you are adding something into the compound. Okay. So, addition of dihydrogen with unsaturated hydrocarbon. Now, what are unsaturated hydrocarbons? I am repeating again. Unsaturated hydrocarbons are those containing either double bond or triple bond. The one having double bond is called as alkenes and the one having triple bond is called as alkynes. So, when you add dihydrogen to an unsaturated hydrocarbon in the presence of catalyst, now the term used over here is catalyst. What is a catalyst? Catalyst is any substance that participates in the reaction, it increases or initiates the rate of reaction without itself undergoing any change. Okay, it is called, that means if you are adding over here in this particular example for addition reaction, particularly hydrogenation reaction, nickel is being added as a catalyst. So when you add nickel into the reaction, at the end of the reaction, nickel will not be altered. You will get the nickel as it is at the end of the reaction. So such substances which do not undergo any change, but they help, their presence helps to initiate the rate of reaction is called as a catalyst. So in this case, that is addition reaction. Of addition of dihydrogen with unsaturated hydrocarbon occurs in the presence of catalyst, either nickel, platinum or palladium is being used. So most of the transition metals act as excellent catalysts. Okay, and this reaction is called as an hydrogenation reaction. So if you look at the example over here, students, R stands for alkyl group. Now what exactly? We have learnt about alkanes, we have learnt about alkenes and we have learnt about alkynes. What I am talking about is alkyl, A-L-K-Y-L. Okay. Now what exactly is an alkyl? So if you are taking an alkene and you minus one hydrogen from it, what you are going to get is called as alkyl. Let me give you an example, but something that you have to remember. Alkane, suppose I am taking methane, CH4. Methane is an alkane. From methane, if I remove one hydrogen, minus H, how many hydrogens will I have now? I am going to have 3 hydrogens, that is CH3, and this will be called as methyl. Okay, so alkane minus one hydrogen is called as alkyl. So example over here, methane, remove one hydrogen, what CH3 is called as methyl. So over here in this, why I am explaining you this? Because R is being used for an alkyl group. So in this particular reaction you will see this is an unsaturated hydrocarbon. Between the two carbon atoms there is a double bond. Okay, and in order to maintain its tetravalency, hydrogen is not being attached. You have to add hydrogen to a reaction. So in this particular example, you see there is a R group. That R group is your methyl group. So if I want to write exactly which, over here you can see R can be anything. R can be CH3 methyl, R can be CH3 CH2, that is ethyl, propyl, butyl and so on. So alkyl group is being attached to an alkene. Addition of hydrogen is being done in the presence of nickel as a catalyst. So the moment hydrogen is added in the presence of nickel, you will realize in the product side that there is a disappearance of the double bond. So in this particular reaction, students, unsaturated hydrocarbon can be converted to a saturated hydrocarbon using hydrogenation reaction or the addition reaction. So you see in the product side there is no double bond between the two carbon atoms. Okay, there is a single bond that indicates that alkene has got converted to alkane. And in the reactant side you see there were 4 substituents. Methyl group are called as or the alkyl group that are being attached. I am referring to them as substituents. So there were 4 alkyl substituents in the reactant, but if you look at the product, there are 2 alkyl substituents. What has happened to the other 2 alkyl groups? They have been replaced by the hydrogen group. Okay. So you see unsaturated hydrocarbon can be converted to saturated hydrocarbon using the addition reaction in the presence of nickel as the catalyst. Now this particular reaction finds very much importance in the commercial sector. You must have heard about dalda. Okay, dalda is a vegetable oil. There is a difference between dalda and there is a difference between ghee. Ghee is animal fat, that is obtained from cow's milk. Okay, whereas dalda or vanaspati ghee, that is the term that is being used commercially, it is plant based. It is being obtained from the either soya bean or it is being obtained from sunflower seeds. Now exactly what process has to be carried out in order to convert the normal vegetable oil into vanaspati ghee. Okay, so you see, what reaction is being utilized is the hydrogenation reaction. Vegetable oil, the oil that you use in your normal cooking, that is your vegetable oil. Okay, sunflower oil, soya bean oil, groundnut oil, any oil that is being obtained from the plant source is called vegetable oil. Now this vegetable oil, on addition of hydrogen, this is an industrial process, it is a commercial process. So to this vegetable oil, when you add hydrogen and when you heat it in the presence of catalysts like nickel, platinum or palladium, what is happening? The vegetable oil is getting solidified. Very important term, it is getting solidified and it is getting converted to dalda or called as vanaspati ghee. So here is an example of addition reaction which plays very much important role in our daily life. So you can see in the kitchen also we are doing some of the other reactions, right? So this was the third reaction of the carbon compound. So let us see in detail what exactly is a catalyst. The substances that cause a reaction to occur or proceeds to different rate without consuming in it are called a catalyst. For example, nickel, platinum, palladium, etc. Process of converting vegetable oil into solid fat or vanaspati ghee is called hydrogenation of oil. Very important. Often a question is being asked during the exams, explain hydrogenation reaction with the help of an example. So now you know hydrogenation, why the term comes, because there is addition of hydrogen in it. So vegetable fats are saturated fats which are harmful for health. So you must have seen advertisements on TV, you know, they advertise a particular oil and they say it's having less amount of saturated fats. That means consumption of fats is not good for your health because it can increase the cholesterol level in your body. Okay, so vegetable fats are saturated fats and are harmful for health. So you will see in your house, usually they do not use dalda for cooking. Dalda may be used for lighting of lamp or so on, but it is rarely used in cooking because it is not good for your health. And vegetable oil containing unsaturated fatty acids are good for health. So some of the unsaturated fatty acids present in like DHA, AHA, you know, these oil packets, if you look at them carefully, it's being mentioned contains good amount of BHA level. So when these levels are being mentioned, it means there is a good kind of fatty acids which are present in it. I hope you know that oils, butter, all this contain of fatty acids. There are good fatty acids and there are bad fatty acids. So those fatty acids are required in your body. Okay, it is required for the protection of your organs. So students, please take a note, not that all fatty acids are bad for your health. There are oils that you like, vanaspati, ghee that is obtained from cow. It is good for consuming it because it contains good fat. So try to differentiate between good fats and bad fats. So over here, the ones containing saturated fats are your bad fats. Okay. And the last reaction that we will be learning in carbon and its compound is substitution reaction. So you must have often noticed, I know the days when you used to come to school and used to be very happy, say if the maths teacher is not there and instead of maths teacher you were praying, I hope the PE teacher comes and she comes as a substitute. So see, from the term itself you should understand what exactly is a substitution reaction. Substitution reaction is a reaction in which one atom, okay, or you can say one atom gets replaced by another atom. So replacement of one or more hydrogen atom of an organic molecule by another atom or group of atom is known as a substitution reaction. So what is happening in substitution reaction? One atom is being replaced. So the term for replace is substitute. So one atom is being substituted by another atom. So in the first example you will see that is methane in the presence of chlorine and sunlight. What is happening? We will learn this reaction in detail, students. Okay, so students, now let us see how exactly the substitution reaction takes place. Here is a condensed formula that I have written. CH4 plus chlorine in the presence of sunlight, it is going to give me methyl chloride plus hydrogen chloride. So what exactly I am getting? My product is CH3Cl plus HCl. So what exactly has happened in this particular reaction? Okay, we know methane contains of 4 hydrogen atoms. Okay, and to that what is being done? Chlorine is being added, and in the presence of sunlight what is going to happen? One atom of hydrogen is going to get replaced by one atom of chlorine. So when it gets replaced by one atom of chlorine, what we get is, so instead of writing H over here I am going to write Cl plus the product that I am going to get is this hydrogen is going to combine with another with the other atom of chlorine. I am going to get hydrogen chloride. So methane, in case of this example, hydrogen is getting replaced by a chlorine atom giving you methyl chloride. So if I continue with this reaction, say I am taking methyl chloride and again I am adding chlorine to it in the presence of sunlight. Okay, the product that I will get will be, now already there is one chlorine atom present in the product. Okay, another chlorine atom from the reactant is going to replace, and now I am going to have 2 chlorine atoms plus hydrogen chloride is going to be my byproduct. So in the first reaction you will see one hydrogen atom is being replaced by a chloride atom, and in the second reaction another hydrogen atom gets replaced by a chloride atom. This reaction is going to go on till all the hydrogen atoms are being replaced. So over here you are getting 2 chlorine atoms, 2 hydrogen atoms plus HCl. So this is an example. So you can see just not replacement of one hydrogen atom, but it is replacement of 2 hydrogen atoms or so on. So these are your organic compounds in which the hydrogen atom is getting replaced. So you see over here there is another example that is being given, bromoethane reacting with potassium hydroxide. Okay, that is alkaline potassium hydroxide. What it is doing in this particular example, the halogen group or the halo atom is getting replaced by an OH group. Okay, so a bromoethane, that is a haloalkane, is getting converted to an alcohol using this substitution reaction. So bromoethane plus potassium hydroxide, bromine atom gets replaced, you are getting ethanol plus potassium bromide is your byproduct. Okay, so students, these reactions are widely used in the various industrial processes. So students, in this particular lesson we have learned about the chemical properties of carbon compounds, in which we have learned about oxidation reaction, addition reaction, substitution reaction. We have seen how these reactions play so much important role in providing various products and are being used in various industrial processes.